welcome to Gangster Profile, the place where power, greed, and violence have left their mark. Here, we tell the true stories of the underworld, from the streets of Chicago to the mountains of Colombia, of the legends who wrote history and paid for it with blood. Every rise has its price, every myth, its dark side. Here you'll discover who they really were, the men and women who became symbols of crime, their deeds, their fears, their final moments. This is no glorification, it is a journey into the darkest truth of humanity, where every story begins with power and ends with blood. Welcome to Gangster Profile. The truth knows no heroes. He was more than a gangster, to some a hero, to others a monster. Lucky Luciano, a name that still feeds legends. But who was the man behind the myth? I'm just a businessman who supplies what people want. A sentence like a blade. Cool, calm, dangerous. Charles Lucky Luciano, born Salvatore Lucania, the man who brought order to the underworld by running it like a company. He turned street wars into meetings, blood into balance sheets. He built bridges across clans, languages, cities, and he shaped a system that would cast shadows for decades. But behind the fame and power stood a person whose story was darker than the world ever cared to know. Sicily. Lercara Friddi, 1897. Dusty roads, barren fields, a place that sends its children to sea. A place where the future too often hides in the clouds. 1906. A ship. Ellis Island. The Lower East Side becomes home. Tight rooms, boiling alleys, sweat, noise. The city speaks in dozens of tongues. The rules are simple. Strength counts. Money talks. Morality keeps quiet. Charlie, soon his American name, learns faster than any school allows. He sells protection on the playground. 5 cents so other kids can play in peace. An early lesson. Respect can be organized. Fear can be managed. An anecdote that shows his cold eye. A stuttering boy gets mocked. Charlie confronts the bullies, not with fists, with an offer. He collects from both sides. Some pay for protection, others pay for permission not to get into trouble. 2 revenue streams, a principle that will remain. What mattered were the meetings. Meyer Lansky, slim, quiet, a calculator who loved numbers and understood risk. Benjamin Bugsy Siegel, fast, fearless, unpredictable. 3 teenagers who grasped that origin means little when the goals are big enough. They think not in honor but in efficiency, not in bloodlines but in division of labor. That will be their edge. Prohibition begins in 1920. The nation says, no alcohol. The nation keeps drinking. A moral crusade creates a market the country has never seen, and Luciano stands at the edge of this new industry, ready to organize it. Arnold Rothstein opens the door, the elegant financier of the underworld, a teacher of distance. Rothstein explains how to plan routes, how to pay policemen before they ask, how to help politicians say no without meaning no. Luciano listens. He learns. He turns professional. A night in 1929 stamps his name. Men shove him into a car. Beatings. Blades. A roadside ditch. He survives. Broken, scarred. Lucky, some say. A man blessed. Others say he grinned at death, and death blinked. From that night on, he wears the scar like a crest. It reminds him that vulnerability is expensive, and that you should never be that exposed again. Then, the Castellammarese War. A war born of tradition and vanity. Joe Masseria versus Salvatore Maranzano. Old against old-fashioned. Streets become trenches. Restaurants become traps. Taxis become hearses. Officially, Luciano stands with Masseria, but he's had enough of the Middle Ages. He negotiates in the dark. He weighs. He counts. One spring afternoon in 1931, Masseria sits in Coney Island playing cards. Shots. Silence. The Age of Kings ends. Months later, Maranzano falls in his Manhattan office. Men dressed as agents. A modern stamp on an ancient system. Luciano uses the vacuum. He creates the commission. No king. No capo di tutti capi. A council. 5 families in New York. Allies in Chicago, Buffalo, Detroit. A structure that replaces wars with rules. No hit without approval. No expansion without a vote. Conflicts are negotiated, not instantly shot. Why it worked? Because violence has lousy returns. Because every bullet wakes the police. Because headlines kill margins. Luciano drains the romance from crime and gives it efficiency. Bribery becomes a service. Extortion, routine. Corruption, infrastructure. His axis is strong. Meyer Lansky keeps the numbers and the networks aligned. Florida, Cuba, later Las Vegas. Bugsy Siegel pushes risky projects. He thinks big. He burns fast. Frank Costello works quietly with politics and agencies. All threads run to Luciano, not at a street corner, inside supply chains. Liquor, gambling, prostitution, later, heroin. He takes percentages instead of corners. He standardizes violence, locks it in the vault, and only retrieves it when talks fail. A small story from those years. A young boss from Brooklyn tries to work in Manhattan without permission. He believes fame replaces rules. Luciano invites him to a meeting. No shouting, no threats. At the end of a quiet hour, the young man holds shares instead of turf. Less shine, more profit. And he lives, because someone understood that order pays better than ego. Early 1930s, New York glitters even as the Depression chokes it. Luciano lives at the Waldorf Astoria. Silk, steel, discretion. He dines at the best tables. He speaks little. When he speaks, decisions follow. The press wants faces. Capone roars in Chicago. Luciano smiles thinly in Manhattan. He isn't a brawler. He's a manager. Judges nod when he enters. Cops look the other way. Unions fall in line. Ports move. Theaters play. When words fail, plan B. Brief. Final. His line fits the time. I'm just a businessman who supplies what people want. America wants distraction. He delivers. Reliable. Expensive. The commission becomes a clockwork. It allocates markets, caps conflicts, imposes penalties everyone understands. In this cool order lies the fascination and the terror. The city breathes easier. The night runs more efficiently, but every rise summons an adversary. Thomas E. Dewey, a young prosecutor with a straight spine. He knows headlines. He knows the public craves a story. He chooses a pressure point that cracks the facade, the vice trade. (1936) Raids roll through Manhattan. Brothels are cleaned out. Madams talk. A system that whispers becomes visible. Not taxes, not alcohol. Forced prostitution, exploitation with names and faces. The trial is more than legal. It's moral. It rips down the cloak of elegance. Instead of hotels and limousines, women no one wanted to hear. Memories people prefer to forget. Dewey cuts sharp. The defense counters by the book, but the wall crumbles. The verdict drops like a sledgehammer, 30 to 50 years. Dannemora. Walls, bars, routines. A man who once conducted the city now counts his steps. His influence doesn't evaporate, it liquefies. It finds channels. An episode shows the odd logic of history. War. 1942. Sabotage scares on the New York docks. Ships burn. Rumors fly. The government needs calm on the waterfront. Conversations happen no one will admit to. Union bosses, dockmen, intermediaries with old numbers in old books. Strings are pulled that don't officially exist. The docks quiet down. Pragmatism as a bandage on an open wound. In 1946 comes the price. Clemency for exile. Luciano is deported to Italy. Never again New York. Never again the city where his power lived. He moves to Naples. Sunday Sea. Memory. But he's no tourist. He tries to run threads across the Atlantic. He advises. He mediates. He denies the drug trade. Others say the opposite. Truth stays behind doors that won't open from the outside. The same year, the underworld looks to Cuba. Havana. A meeting in glare and shadow. Hotel nights full of voices. A singer performs in the city while shares are divided in the background. They talk Las Vegas, heroin, hierarchies. Vito Genovese pushes. Meyer Lansky wants order. Luciano is present, but no longer irreplaceable. Pressure rises. America is watching. Cuba shows him the door. Back to Italy. Back to rooms that are not his. Back to phones that ring softer. The world he built folds in on itself. Friends turn to enemies. Power turns into fear. Exile is the slowest form of loss. Luciano loved New York the way a gambler loves his casino. He knew every door, every head waiter, every number you dial when problems get expensive. In Naples, he's a stranger. The sun warms. It doesn't comfort. An anecdote from these years. A young admirer moves to speak to him in a bar. Luciano smiles politely. He raises a hand, says nothing. His companions do the rest, not with violence, with distance. A king in exile rules by implication. He remains under watch. Italian police know his name. American agencies read along. Newspapers print photos that age. He invests. He denies. He goes quiet when questions get too clear. January 26, 1962. Naples, airport. A meeting with a producer. A film about his life. A last try to write the story himself. The door opens. The talk ends. So does his heart. He falls. No gun, no alley, only the hard floor of a terminal. How do we remember Lucky Luciano? As a devil in a tailored suit, as the architect of criminal order, as a man who prevented wars, because wars are costly. Films and series shape his face, in black and white, in color. Sometimes elegant, sometimes ice-cold, sometimes tragic. Books explain the commission like a gear train, a machine oiled with silence, fitted with fear. The sober truth is uncomfortable. He replaced arbitrariness with regulated arbitrariness. He traded open chaos for hidden control. Others paid the price. Women whose fates vanished into ledgers. Men left in alleys so markets could run smoothly. Cities that learned to sleep to the hum of corruption. America's economy and culture changed. Prohibition fell. Casinos grew. Unions were infiltrated. The line between legal and illegal shifted, not with a bang, but with a soft shove. Night after night. Luciano's genius lay in mapping the gray zones. He understood that systems outlast heroes, that contracts last longer than threats, that 1% of everything is worth more than 100% of a street corner. One last anecdote that explains his cool. An underboss boasts at dinner about his new car. Chrome, leather, power. Luciano looks, nods, says one word, right off. The table laughs. The message sticks. Emotion is expensive. Numbers are reliable. His life is a warning about the efficiency of evil, a lesson in how quickly pragmatism replaces morality, how easily order is mistaken for justice. He professionalized crime. He turned violence into administration, and administration into habit. They say there's no looking back. Forward is the only direction. He moved forward, over laws, over bodies, over every line that stood in his way. Lucky Luciano is long dead, but his name remains, as warning, as myth, as a mirror of a world that never had enough. What remains? An eye for order in wrongdoing, a talent for reading people, a will that crossed every boundary, a legacy that glitters and stains. It tells how systems arise when chaos is left alone, how they grow when left unchecked, and how hard they are to stop once they're running. Lucky Luciano, a name that doesn't fade. As warning, as myth, as a mirror of our blind spots. The story ends here, but the shadows remain. True stories about power, money, and the darkness of the underworld. If the truth behind the myths fascinates you, then give the video a like and subscribe to the channel to join us in the search for the darkest chapters of history. Behind every name lies more than a crime. Behind every legend, a human being. Some only wanted to survive, others to rule the world. But in the end, they all lose the same things: freedom, trust, and themselves. Where legends die and stories become immortal. See you soon on Gangster Profile. The truth knows no heroes.